Before the moonwalk, before Thriller, before the sold-out stadiums and the screaming millions, there was a little boy in Gary, Indiana, who just wanted to call his father Daddy. He was never allowed to. That single detail, so small, so ordinary, holds the key to understanding one of the most heartbreaking stories in music history. Because the man who turned Michael Jackson into the greatest entertainer who ever lived is the same man who made Michael Jackson could never enjoy it. His name was Joseph Walter Jackson, and this is what he did to his son. The year is 1950. Joseph Jackson is a young man with a guitar and a dream. He and his brother Luther form a blues band called the Falcons. Joseph plays with real hunger. This is the life he wants: music, fame, recognition. It never comes. No record deal, no break, no moment. The Falcons fall apart, and Joseph Jackson, dream still burning in his chest, is forced to hang up the guitar and take a job operating a crane at a steel mill. He works brutal shifts. He has a large family to feed. The dream goes nowhere except underground, where it hardens into something dangerous. By the early 1960s, his older sons, Jackie, Tito, and Jermaine, have been secretly taking his guitar and learning to play. When Joseph discovers this, something clicks. Not anger, opportunity. He doesn't just forgive them, he forms a group. He appoints himself manager, and the dream he was forced to bury is reborn. But now it will be built on the backs of his children. When Michael is 5 years old, his mother, Catherine, notices something extraordinary. The little boy can sing with a natural perfection that seems almost supernatural. She practically forces Joseph to listen. He was reluctant. Jermaine was his lead singer. That was settled. But the moment he hears Michael, everything changes. His youngest son's gift didn't inspire pride or wonder in Joseph Jackson. It inspired calculation. He has found his perfect instrument. Picture this room, a chair in the center, Joseph Jackson sitting in it, leather belt across his knees, his sons in a line before him, rehearsing the same moves over and over again, hours, every single day. And every time someone missed a step, slipped out of rhythm, or hit a wrong note, the belt came down. This was not discipline. This was terror. Michael Jackson described it himself. We were nervous rehearsing. We weren't just practicing, we were scared. He sat in that chair with his belt, and if you didn't do it right, he would tear you up. And it wasn't just the belt. Joseph would throw his sons against walls. He lost his temper in ways that made their mother scream, "Joe, you're going to kill him. Stop it. You're going to kill him." Psychologists who have studied the Jackson family history describe this as the foundation of what likely became a body image disorder, a deep, unshakable conviction that his face was wrong, that he was wrong, that he needed to be fixed. He spent the rest of his life trying to fix something his father broke. And there is one final detail from this chapter that haunts everything. One night, Joseph entered Michael's bedroom while he was sleeping. He put on a terrifying mask, he climbed through the window, and he woke the child up screaming. The stated reason: to prove the window should never be left open. What it actually did was give Michael lifelong panic attacks and recurring nightmares about being kidnapped from his own bedroom. For years, he never felt safe in his own room. And yet, despite all of this, the machine worked. The Jackson 5 became a sensation. The five brothers from Gary, Indiana exploded on the American charts, and then the world. Motown, sold-out shows, screaming fans, television appearances, they were everywhere. Michael was the center of everything, the voice and the face that everyone wanted, at 9 years old, at 10, at 11. But even as the world watched this child dazzle them, something was being stolen from him that no amount of fame could replace. He had no childhood, no birthday parties with neighborhood kids, no slow summer afternoons, no scrapes or games, and the ordinary, forgettable, irreplaceable hours of just being small and unimportant. Later in life, Michael Jackson would say the saddest thing:
My childhood was very, very sad. And then, years later, he built Neverland Ranch, a property with a Ferris wheel, a carousel, a petting zoo, roller coasters, and a movie theater. He filled it with children's toys, he screened Disney films, and invited sick kids from hospitals. People mocked him for it.
But psychologists who study trauma understand it immediately. He was trying with everything he had to go back, to reclaim the thing Joseph Jackson had taken. That regression, the obsession with childhood, the refusal to fully inhabit adulthood, wasn't a marketing strategy or a quirk. It was a wound. When Michael turned 21, he did something that terrified him more than almost anything in his life. He fired his father. He hired lawyers. He had professionals draw up the documents ending Joseph's role as his manager and legal guardian. He could not tell Joseph himself. He had the papers delivered. Because the thought of standing in the same room as his father and saying those words, it made him physically ill. This is not a figure of speech. Michael Jackson described in interviews that simply being in Joseph's presence caused him to vomit. His bodyguards sometimes had to hold him up because he fainted. The terror Joseph had installed in that child in Gary, Indiana, was so deep, so total, that it lived in his body, not just his mind, 30 years later. So scared that I would regurgitate, Michael said, just seeing him. Joseph Jackson, when told his son became nauseous at his sight, responded, "Well, he regurgitated all the way to the bank." That sentence tells you everything you need to know about Joseph Jackson. Even after losing his managerial role, Joseph found ways to reach Michael through the one channel he couldn't block: family loyalty. He used Catherine, Michael's beloved mother, as a messenger, not cruelly, but effectively. When Joseph wanted Michael to participate in the Victory Tour in 1984, it was Catherine who came to her son with the request, and Michael, who could refuse almost no one he loved, agreed. The tour was a disaster of Joseph's making. He introduced a ticket lottery system requiring fans to pay $120 up front for a chance to buy 4 tickets, no individual tickets, no refunds for weeks. Michael opposed it from the start. He understood it was exploitation. Then, an 11-year-old girl from Texas named LaDonna Jones wrote him a letter. She had been doing small jobs to save up $30 for a ticket and couldn't afford to buy 4 at once. In her letter, she called the Jacksons selfish and greedy. That letter broke something open in Michael. He held a press conference. He announced the ticket system would change. He announced he would donate his entire share of the tour profits to charity. Millions of dollars gone. Then, during the final concert in Los Angeles, standing in front of a full arena, with Joseph backstage counting future profits from European dates already in planning, Michael stepped to the microphone. "This is our last and final tour. This is our farewell." One sentence in front of the world. Joseph Jackson's plans, his spreadsheets, his next chapter, all of it dissolved in a single moment on a stage in Los Angeles. Backstage, according to those present, the confrontation was explosive. Michael told his father directly, "It's over, Joseph." For a boy who once fainted at the sight of his father, that took everything he had. But escaping Joseph Jackson didn't mean escaping what Joseph Jackson had done. The Victory Tour itself had already exacted a price Michael didn't see coming. In 1983, Joseph had pressured Michael into a $5 million Pepsi deal despite his reluctance. During the commercial shoot, a pyrotechnics malfunction ignited Michael's hair. He suffered 2nd and 3rd degree burns to his scalp. The painkillers he was given to manage the pain during recovery marked the beginning of a dependency that would follow him for the rest of his life. Propofol, Demerol, the slow chemical dismantling of the king of pop. It has a starting point, and that starting point traces back to a Pepsi shoot Michael didn't want to do, pushed by a father chasing a check. In 2002, Michael quietly finalized his will. He was 43 years old. He divided his estate, 40% to his children, 40% to his mother Catherine, 20% to charity. Joseph Jackson's name was not in the document, not once. Michael went further. He named Diana Ross, not Joseph, not any of his brothers, as the backup guardian for his children.
He structured Catherine's share as a lifetime trust specifically designed so that she couldn't transfer large amounts of money to Joseph, even if she wanted to. He had thought of everything. Even in death, he was protecting himself from his father. Michael Jackson died on June 25, 2009. 3 days later, Joseph Jackson appeared on CNN. He stood in front of the cameras as the world mourned his son, the greatest entertainer who ever lived, dead at 50, and used the broadcast to promote his new record label. Marshall and I have a record company called Ranch Records, distributed by Blu-ray Technology. That's the next step. The world watched in disbelief. When the estate was settled and the judge's ruling was delivered, it was clear. Joseph Jackson received nothing. The lawyers proved that Michael had deliberately, carefully, and intentionally excluded him. That was his son's decision, the judge said. When asked later what he missed most about Michael, Joseph Jackson said he missed watching him perform on stage. Not his son, the performer. Not the boy who wanted to call him daddy, the act. Biographer J. Randy Taraborelli, who knew Michael Jackson for decades, said something that cuts to the heart of all of this. I'm not sure he ever got over the effect of Joseph's hand on him. Never. Not through the moonwalk, not through Thriller selling 70 million copies, not through Neverland or the children's wards he visited or the letters he wrote to fans. Not through it all. Because the research on childhood trauma is unambiguous. What Joseph Jackson did to his sons, the beatings, the humiliations, the stolen childhood, the mask through the window, these are the exact experiences that create what psychologists call complex PTSD, chronic hypervigilance, dissociation, a fractured sense of identity, a body that never fully feels safe. Michael Jackson showed every sign of it for the rest of his life. He was never the carefree genius the world thought he saw on stage. He was a man who had learned at age 5 that love and pain come from the same hands, that approval must be earned through perfect performance, that the safest place to be is inside the music, where his father had no power. He built the greatest career in pop history from inside a cage his father built. Joseph Jackson didn't create the king of pop despite what he did. He forced Michael to become the king of pop because of what he did, and then spent 40 years trying to profit from the damage. The little boy in Gary, Indiana just wanted to say daddy. He never got to.